the grand jury proceeding in St. Louis County has concluded. I can report this evening that the Justice Department's investigation into the shooting death of Michael Brown, as well as our investigation into allegations of unconstitutional policing patterns or practices by the Ferguson Police Department, remain ongoing and remain active.
Soon America will move on from Ferguson. Another shiny, controversial bauble will catch our attention. This is what we learn from history and all too often force ourselves to repeat. But Ferguson is now more than a big city suburb. It will be the test to see if we as a society have learned anything about making life better or if we're all just lip service actors in another bad play. Let's welcome back to MidPoint the former mayor of Ferguson, Missouri, leading the charge for the city's comeback with the I Love Ferguson campaign, Brian Fletcher. Brian, it's a pleasure to see you again.
It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Brian, what can you tell us about how life in Ferguson is today? Because we still see the pictures of burned out buildings, and we hear that it is still a community sitting on the edge every single second.
Ed, you are correct. It is a very tenuous situation, although there seems to be some sort of calmness that has settled over the last few days. Although there's been some minor protesting, nothing to the extent of the looting and fires that occurred a week ago last Monday.
I wanted to get your opinion on this because people are talking about Ferguson and they're saying what happened in the shooting, the Mike Brown shooting, was only just the lighter, if you will, that things had been simmering in Ferguson for a long time, that there had been racial discourse, that the community, the black community there, was not happy with the police force, and that this simply was waiting to happen. Is that true?
I would have to deny that. As mayor, I was elected official for some 28 years, not as mayor, but in different capacities. I only received 2 racial concerns in the entire time I was mayor. I know most of the elected officials in the community, having been here so long, living in the community over 30 years myself. If those concerns were there, they did not express them. And I think the media needs to do a better job to ask specifically what were the concerns and who did they voice them to.
Then let's ask, what were the concerns then before all this happened?
The 2 issues that I had before me was one that an African-American felt that a business owner had treated him unfairly. It turned out after we did a discussion that the individual was conducting business in the restaurant and not purchasing anything, and the owner felt that it was inappropriate. They came to an agreement and worked their issues out together. The other issue was a true racial issue. It was an issue where a police officer was directing traffic. An African-American went around his command, and the officer did use a racial expletive, and was incorrect, and the officer was reprimanded, and the African-American was apologized to, and that resolved that issue.
I've only got a couple of minutes, and I want to get a couple of quick things in here. The stepfather of Michael Brown has apologized for repeatedly yelling burn comments that have been carried by the national media, burn the buildings down. Do you think an apology is enough?
Well, I don't think that an apology was enough to the Brown family, so no, I don't think it was enough. Unfortunately, it was a terrible situation that evening, and egging or edging it towards more violence was not an appropriate thing for anyone in the Brown family to do. I do understand their frustration. They lost a son, and that's a tragedy.
Your I Love Ferguson Committee, in wake of everything we've just talked about on how tough it is it going to be able to survive and actually bring this community back?
It's doing very well this last week, especially. We're going to be contributing another at least 40 to 50,000 this month to the businesses. We give outright grants. We do not give out loans. They're outright grants, and we're screening people at this time. We ask that people go to iloveferguson.com and order something so we continue to do our good work and heal this community.
Do you think the community is worth healing?
It definitely is. There's no doubt in my mind. I have a lot of faith in this community. It is a great community. We will recover. You know, Ed, we've had 2 tornadoes in the last 4 years that we recovered from. One of the businesses, the Little Caesar Pizza restaurant, had been destroyed by a tornado 3 years ago, and it fully recovered. And now they've been totally burnt out. they will come back, and we will help them come back, and we'll do our very best with the help of all the great citizens in the city of Ferguson and across the nation.
Ryan, we always appreciate your time. We're not going to let this part of the story slide. We will talk to you again. If we don't talk before then, to you and your family, have a great holiday season and a Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much, Ed. You as well.
All right, take care, Brian. Cops are under fire from every corner in the wake of Ferguson. And not everyone falls in line with what the president wants to do across the country. That's after the break. And at 34 minutes after the hour, former director of FEMA Michael Brown takes us around the dial from the Rockies here.